Welcome. We're going to be talking today about Century Oaks Apartments, a rare, deeply discounted value add opportunity in Oakdale, Minnesota. And I'm so happy to see you all here this evening, and we want to share this opportunity with you. But first, we want to share this opportunity with you. We want to share it with all of our friends. You are all our friends, new friends and old friends, family, as well as colleagues and fellow investors. So I'm going to start with a brief update about the market here in Minneapolis-St. Paul metropolitan statistical area where we live, Heather and I live. This is an area has a very diverse and strong economy. And as you can see, if you look around anywhere, there's been a lot of new construction. So we have our strong economy, and we've enjoyed a historically low unemployment. With all the new construction, it seems like apartments are being built everywhere, but we're on the tail end of this trend, and the new supply is actually decreasing. These newly built apartments are actually considered Class A properties, and in our area, these have a median vacancy of 6.2% due to the influx of new supply. In the workforce housing, in the Class B and Class C properties, the median vacancy is actually 4% and 3%. And these are the workforce and affordable housing areas that we are investing in. In this market, the average rent growth is also 3.7%, which compares favorably to the nationwide rent growth of 2.6%. Many of us have invested in real estate, and a common path is to start with a single family home or a duplex, which is exactly how we started. Heather and I actually owned a small medical office where I had my ophthalmology practice. And a few years back, we joined the Limitless MD Mastermind community. We're in our third year there now. And this is where we learned how to scale our real estate portfolio. We met other physicians and other professionals with similar interests. And we've invested in as partners in several projects. Each project, it's common to have a local sponsor. And after partnering on deals in the 20 unit to 40 unit range, we actually found and closed on a 77 unit property in Fridley, Minnesota. That's home of Medtronic Corporation. This was just last year in June of 2024, and some of you are investors in this deal. In our Fridley property, we had very conservative underwriting and strong asset management. And we've been able to see rent increases, occupancy at 100% unless we're renovating a unit. And we're already distributing cash flows ahead of our schedule. The Fridley property, the 77 unit, it was purchased for $8.5 million, or about $110,000 per unit, which we felt was a really good deal. I'm going to briefly, for people that may not know what a syndication is, tell you about a syndication. So our 77 unit property in Fridley was purchased using a syndication model. The real estate syndication involves multiple investors pooling their capital to purchase a larger property. The property is referred to as an asset. And if you read Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket, whether you work or not. We all like that. The syndication process starts with identifying the property, then conducting due diligence, both financial and physical due diligence. Then we raise capital and meet with investors like we're doing now. Then the property is acquired and managed. And finally, there's an exit strategy with distribution of the bulk of the returns. We do distribute cash flow regularly during the hold period. And at the time of sale, everyone enjoys the profits. The Fridley property is well into the asset management stage, and we'll be telling you the story about our next offering shortly. Many of our partners came to our Oculus Capital launch party, which we held in October of 2024, just a few months ago. Thank you if you were able to attend and make it. We had a fantastic time. Our partners came out and we toured our Fridley property at the time. So the people who hadn't seen it were able to lay eyes on it. And while our team was here, we toured other properties, starting to look for our next project. We thought maybe we'll look at something smaller, something medium size. And then we ended up looking at this large 175 unit property in Oakdale. This Oakdale property, it wasn't on the market yet. But since our last project went so successfully, there were a lot of brokers contacting us with properties. And they're telling us this is coming on the market soon. Would you like to look at it? Now, usually when this happens, the brokers are usually very excited about the property and want to tell us how well it's doing. But in this Oakdale property, there were some struggles with high expenses in the past year, and their occupancy wasn't quite as high as we wanted. Essentially, the owners were starting to lose money on the property, but we decided to look at it anyway and didn't have really high expectations at the time. Now, later we discovered that the seller is in her 80s and perhaps not putting significant energy in the property in the past couple of years. So what we'll show you today is how we became pleasantly surprised with the condition of the units, the buildings, the 9 acres of land. The area was quiet and safe. We looked at where the expenses were high and realized that if we can bring the expenses in line with the industry standards, which are really 50 to 55% of income, and if we could bring the occupancy even up to 90%, which is still far below the area median of 96 and 97% was what we would expect, then this property should actually be valued at $18 million. And that's still far less than what we paid for the Fridley property. So we'll be getting this at $12.1 million, which is only $69,000 per unit. And it should be worth at least $18 million or 103 per unit, which is, as I mentioned, is less than the Fridley property, which we bought at 110 per unit. So Century Oaks stood out as a home run opportunity. The neighborhood actually seemed quiet and safe. There were 5 buildings, which seemed well maintained. The units we saw were in reasonably good condition. And then we put in an offer, and this was accepted. We'd like to ask you to join us on this journey. As just about every step in this process, we've been pleasantly surprised. And we want to share with you this journey as we present Century Oaks Apartments. Next is the executive summary. So this is Century Oaks Apartments. This property is located in Oakdale, Minnesota, which is a first ring suburb in the East Metro. This is just east of St. Paul. These apartments were built in 1970. And there are 5 buildings with a total of 175 apartment units. We were able to negotiate a purchase price of $12.1 million, which is an unbelievable $69,000 per unit. This is barely over the price that they paid for it about 9 years ago. In fact, the tax assessed value is significantly higher. In just 2022, the tax assessed value was $22 million. We also found that the replacement cost for this property would be $27 million. And that's what we're insured for. And this is $15 million higher than the purchase price. Another thing we liked about this property is that it's an affordable housing opportunity. And we'll talk more about that later. So with our very conservative underwriting, once again, we're actually projecting a 20% average annual return. We're projecting a 2x multiple on sale or higher, and a 17% internal rate of return, which factors in the time value of money. We're estimating that we'll have a 9% annualized cash-on-cash return over a projected 3 to 5 year hold. Now, next, I'd like to introduce our fantastic team. Working together, we can accomplish so much more than any of us can individually. There's so many moving parts in this type of project, and we're so grateful for the dedication and excellence of our team members. I'm going to just briefly tell everyone I'm an ophthalmologist. I practice in the Twin Cities, actually very close to this property. My private practice is in Woodbury, across the Highway 94, and I work at a LASIK center that's actually right in Oakdale. I was there today. And Heather is my wife, and we together, Heather's going to tell us about more about our journey and our team.
And you'll see that later when everyone's in gallery view again, that all our partners are here tonight. So, but I will tell you about them. So I'm a family doctor, and I help professional women over age 50 lose weight for the last time. And Amar and I founded Oculus Capital. So most recently, we successfully closed on a 77-unit property in Fridley, Minnesota, and we are achieving early performance metrics for our investors there. Through personal holdings and strategic partnerships, we manage 148 units across 4 states with an expertise in operational excellence, sourcing properties, and value creation. Now, working with Oculus on this deal is Dr. Subasit Acharjee, an accomplished interventional cardiologist and vascular specialist based in the Boston area, who has used his analytical and decision-making expertise into the real estate, brought those into the real estate investment world. In a matter of 3 years, Subasit achieved financial freedom through real estate, but he still loves his cardiology work. He manages 155 units in personal holdings and partnerships across 5 states. Subasit brings a passion for creating long-term wealth and a commitment to empowering investors. Also in our group is JKL Capital. This group is founded by a team of close friends and military service members. Dr. Norman Guay is a flight surgeon and ER doctor. Timothy McClary is a flight medic and realtor. And Brian Forte is a PA in the ER. JKL Capital combines discipline, teamwork, and a passion for real estate investing. Together, they own or manage a diverse portfolio of over 600 units across multiple states, showcasing their strategic acumen and commitment to delivering exceptional results for investors. Our final and not least partner group is Everest Legacy Investment, founded by Dr. Samar Paiza Mugger and Nita Tapa. Samar is a surgeon and Nita is an OBGYN doctor. They have established a strong presence in the multifamily real estate space with a portfolio of more than 65 units and extensive experience as co-general partners in numerous additional projects. The total is 896 units across 5 different states. They bring expertise, vision, and a commitment to building wealth for investors.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. And Samar and Nita are based in South Carolina. And JKL team, Norman, Tim, and Brian are based in Maine, the great state of Maine. So we're going to go on to the market overview. The Twin Cities metro area of Minneapolis and St. Paul has about 3.7 million residents. The area population is projected to continue to grow at almost 2% through 2050. And now Oakdale is in the East Metro here. So this is Minneapolis, St. Paul. Oakdale is this is the ring here. Oakdale is in the East Metro suburb, and it straddles 694 highway. The last census population was just over 28,000 in Oakdale itself, with a median household income of approximately 86,000. The estimated median home value in this area is about 310,000, which makes renting in this area much more affordable than home ownership. The median gross rent in this area is $1,283 as well. Now, the little bit enlarged map here with St. Paul and Oakdale, you can see that Century Oaks Apartments is located just off of Century Avenue, which is one of the main thoroughfares here. The property is actually just a few minutes away from the world headquarters of the 3M Corporation, which interestingly, our other property is very near the Fridley property is very near the birthplace and original headquarters of Medtronic. Oops, what did I just do there? Sorry. Just briefly about 3M. So it's very close to 3M. They have many divisions, but they make things like Scotch tape and medical adhesives. Post-it notes were invented there, medical drapes, tapes, personal protective equipment, and a whole bunch of other items. Today, I was actually operating at this place, LASIK Plus Oakdale. And LASIK Plus centers are always strategically located in areas with high growth, strong population growth, and strong retail environments. And then my private practice is actually right down here in Woodbury. Both of these are less than 10 minutes away from the property. And that's where Woodbury is one of the fastest growing areas in the Twin Cities. And then, so Oakdale is actually just about 10 minutes away from downtown St. Paul, and it's about 20 minutes away from downtown Minneapolis. And this offers tenants easy commute to major employment. There's a very strong employment base in the area, including 3M Corporation. Ecolab is based in downtown St. Paul. Health Partners is a very strong presence, and this contributes to economic stability and a high demand for quality rental housing. The area also features top-rated schools, shopping centers, and recreation centers. Now we're going to go over some of the investment highlights. Our strategic partnership is focused on delivering outstanding returns while also providing quality places for people to live at affordable prices. Our conservative underwriting in this project predicts very strong returns with an average annual return of 20%. The equity multiple on sale of 1.9 to 2.1 or potentially higher, approximately 9% cash on cash, and this is all over a 3 to 5 year hold. We believe this is a home run opportunity, home run project, and we expect to sell out of all of the shares in this venture. I'm going to talk a little bit about the current status and some of the financials. So currently, the occupancy has risen actually to 85%. When we first looked at it, it was actually about 70%. And the seller has been taking steps to prepare the property for sale, and people are noticing that and actually moving in already. Now, the 85% is still well below the average for the area, and we anticipate that stabilized occupancy will actually be 97%. And actually, in our conservative underwriting, we use a lower value for that, so we hope to over-deliver. We're going to share our value-add strategy, which we anticipate will raise rents from an in-place average of just over $1,000 to a projected average rent of $1,200 by year 3. Again, we were very conservative in this projections. And in our Fridley property, we actually reached our 2-year goals within 6 months. This property also has 58 parking garages, and these were added later in the 1990s, and this presents an opportunity for additional rental income. I'm going to do a little property overview here. So we actually did our due diligence physical walkthrough in just after the first of the year. It was actually another beautiful sunny day in January, but a little bit cold. And we had a videographer come out and take some drone footage. You can see there's 5 buildings, a very extensive campus, huge parking lot with over 200 stalls. These are the parking garages. Adjacent property was those townhomes, the retirement home on the other side, and a church. Wooded area, very, very, very pleasant area and beautiful land. So we were very pleased to see all of this, and we're going to share some still photos of this as well. And we'll move on to that. But what I'd like to introduce next is our partner, Tim McClary, who's going to give an overview of the property and plans for adding value to this property. Tim is actually one of our partners in our Fridley property as well, and he's been instrumental. When we met with our property management team, this is a picture of Tim here, we were talking about the heat dissipation through the windows. And so Tim pulls out of his pocket this thermal camera, and everyone was jaws dropped, and they were so impressed that he was able to assess all of that. So I'm going to have you take it away from here, Tim.
Great. Thanks for that. I like quantitative data. What can I say? So to break down the property and its makeup, it's comprised of 30 studio units, 85 one-bedrooms, and 62 bedrooms. The studios are ideal for single occupants, small families, and they're quite generous in size, a lot bigger than some of the studios that I own personally. The one bedrooms are great for individuals or couples that want, a more traditional one bedroom living experience. And the 2 bedrooms, quite frankly, are larger than my first house as far as the floor plan goes. They're very generous and they're great for small families and roommates that just don't want to be on top of each other. Very logical and well laid out floor plans, as you can see there. Next slide, please. So as you can see, the overview of the property, it's 9 acres and it's a very campus-like feel. One of the defining features of the property are the large imposing trees, but there's also another generation of smaller trees underneath that we intend to clear out to really give it a very nice manicured feel to it. Additionally, you can see the roofs. They are a EPDM membrane roof, and they are not currently leaking, but at 20 to 25 years, it's good to remove them. Just they're at the end of their useful life, and we'd rather get ahead of it. And all of the systems we're going to have on a capital improvement plan to make sure that we get all the good years out of the systems. Combined with some upgrades for landscaping and management of the exteriors, we really think that we're in a good position. Next slide. So these are the interiors of the units. These are renovated units, and this would be the caliber of finish that we would expect in all of them. Some of them are in varying states as people have moved out over time. The one thing that struck us when we went through, you think low-income housing, you think rough. Every step of the way, things have been nicer and more improved than we had anticipated. When we originally did our budgeting before we went out and did our unit walks, we were anticipating about $10,000 per unit on average to upgrade them to bring them up to this standard. We literally walked through every single unit collectively and annotated all of the deficiencies, compiled them into a huge spreadsheet, and we came up with an average repair cost of $3,722 per unit to get them up to this level. So as far as our underwriting goes, we're feeling pretty confident on our renovation budget. We've got money set aside for the roofs as well. And some of the upgrades we also want to do are repairing some of the trim and garage doors and getting those looking better. They're all functional, but we really want things to stand out. We also anticipate doing some exterior landscaping and just making that look a little fresher and easier to maintain to hopefully reduce the maintenance costs moving forward.
Next slide. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tim. We'll always love to hear about that stuff from you. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about our business plan. And I'm going to introduce our partner, Dr. Norman Guay, who is also a partner in the Fridley property. And just want to say, we met Norman through the Limitless MD community, and we found that we had a lot of similar interests, as well as complementary strengths. We both studied this underwriting process very diligently over the last few years. But then Norman had this 1 month where his expertise just skyrocketed when he underwrote 100 properties in 1 month. And so I'd like to ask Norman to share our business plan for this project from start to finish.
Great. Thanks, Amr. So, our business plan starts at a place that a lot of properties don't get to start at, and that is with such a deeply discounted acquisition price. We are purchasing this at $12.1 million. The property is going to be worth $18 to $23 million in 3 to 5 years. With some basic strategic components that we'll talk about shortly. The other part of this, and it's not lost on us that we're all called to serve, and we're all hoping to bring value not just to our investors, but the communities in which we are investing. And so one of the really nice things about this property is that we will be giving back to the community by improving the affordable housing that's available in the area. This property is in a prime location. And unfortunately, through some lapses in prior management, it's been allowed to see occupancy drop in a time when everybody needs a home. We'll be improving the property and bringing people in and helping them find affordable housing options. Along those lines, this is actually a LIHTC property, or low-income housing tax credit property, whose primary role is to provide affordable housing for people in the community. That LIHTC designation will be waning over the next year, and in December of 2025, it will be moving to a open market slash affordable housing opportunity, which will allow affordable housing in this community where there is significant benefit. Next slide, please. So our key strategic goals, we're going to implement a $2 million renovation plan, focusing on interior upgrades, exterior repairs, and some common area improvements, with plans to rebrand the property, although that may just simply be improving the brand name and in review of the property, how people feel about the culture of the investment. We're going to increase occupancy above 95%. We are currently at 85% occupancy, and we anticipate about a 3 to 6 month lease up period, where we'll be using aggressive marketing and leasing efforts to boost those occupancy rates, not just for the returns for our investors, although that's a crucial part of this, but also to help people find affordable housing. And then, of course, we're going to really work to control expenses. 50% expense ratio is standard, and we'll be hoping to get somewhere in the high 40% range.
Wonderful.
So this is the fast path to cash flow. We're taking affordable rents at market prices, which will enable immediate revenue growth and enhance performance. We're going to be looking at leasing the garage stalls and optimizing our on-site laundry contracts. But I think the biggest piece of this, and we recognized this early, was the importance of great property management. And we've been lucky to be able to partner with an absolutely world-class property management company. They have an exceptional team. We're just on a meeting with them this morning. We're really looking forward to leveraging their expertise and their absolutely proven track record to execute our business plan. They have a ton of experience in the LIHTC conversion and affordable housing markets, as well as market rate properties. So our implementation timeline, 2025 is purchase and stabilize. We anticipate a early to mid-March closing. We'll begin immediate lease up. We'll consider a rebranding effort, stabilize our expenses, and target value add to include common areas and landscaping. In 2026, we'll move from the LIHTC to affordable and market rate leasing. Again, we'll continue targeting our unit value add strategy and stabilizing the expenses. And in 2027, we'll add to those efforts some more CapEx repairs, and then begin to prepare for sale. And sometime between the end of 2027 and beginning of 2028, pending prevailing market conditions, the property will be fully stabilized, all strategic goals met, and we will be looking to sell.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so a quick financial summary. You can see here our pro forma. We will be focusing primarily for this discussion on the net operating income. In 2025, we'll have an NOI of $981,077. Because of our expense control and lease up, we intend to see an NOI increase to almost $1.2 million. And then in 2027, as we begin to prep for sale, we're looking at $1.25 million. If we are still in possession of the property in 2028, it will continue to drive that value to 1.3, and then beyond that, 1.4 million. And so regarding exit strategy, essentially, our hold is a 3 to 5 year hold period, pending market conditions. We'll be targeting buyers seeking high quality assets in a high demand market, and then leveraging comparable sales data to achieve premium price for our investors.
Fantastic.
And so a quick numbers, because I love numbers. So what you're looking at here is what we call a sensitivity analysis. It's an analysis designed to determine what we anticipate the sale value is. Typically, we'll look at something called the cap rate, which technically is a product of, if we were to pay all cash for this deal, what kind of returns might we expect from that? It's also a product of the net operating income and cap rate together, producing a value for the property. And so right now, currently, the property has a 6.6 cap rate. And we're hoping that we will see some cap rate compression. You'll see up in the right-hand corner that the cap rate is projected to compress to just close to 6% by 2028. This is a product of what Amr talked about before, the idea that there's no new properties coming on the market. There's no new investment cycles. And so as a result of that, you'll start to see the value of properties, their cap rates compress, the values go up because there will be a housing crunch. And as a result of that, what we've done in our conservative underwriting is we've said, okay, let's say the cap rates don't change at all. They're going to stay at 6.6%. And then we're targeting an NOI somewhere between 1.2 and 1.3 million at year 3. That would put the value of this property roughly between 18 and $20 million at year 3 when we go to sell. And you can kind of also see that if we were to project out based on current cap rates and projections to a 6% cap rate with a 1.3 million, for example, NOI, then the property continues to gain appreciation.
That's fantastic analysis. I think I've even heard some analysts say that by 2028, 2029, you won't even be able to get a property for under 200,000 per unit. And we're underwriting, we want to get ours up to 103. So I think all of that speaks very favorably for this project in particular. Thank you for sharing that, Norman. That was fantastic. We're going to talk a little bit about the risk management as well. As you all know, anything you do in life can have risks. Our goal is to identify and to minimize those risks so that any rewards can be outsized. And I'm going to ask Nita to share with you on the risks, and Samar is going to also pitch in and talk about the investment opportunity.
Yep. Just like Omar said, just like anything else in life is risk. So real estate is no exception, right? But as long as you identify them and you have a good business plan in place, we can navigate through and mitigate those risks. So just to highlight a few of the key risks that we have identified for the Century Oak apartment and how we're going to mitigate them. So the number one being the occupancy. In terms of occupancy at the time of purchase, we will be at 85%. And our goal is to get that to 97%. And how we're going to do that is we have partnered with a very world-class property management team. And they have their expertise and they have 40 years of experience. So we're going to be leveraging that. And what we'll be doing is very proactively up leasing. And then we're going to be utilizing a very strategic marketing strategy. So making sure that we have a very high visibility and demand in the market. So having a goal of 97 is very much attainable, and we are very confident we'll be able to reach that within 3 to 6 months' time. Second is the expenses. So expenses is one of the key drives that fluctuates the NOI. So as long as we can keep the expenses below 50%, and how we'll be doing that will be mainly streamlining some of the high payroll cost, and definitely we'll be leveraging latest technology so that we can reduce the cost. And the whole idea is to run the property very efficiently and cost effective so our NOI can go up. Lastly is the market risk. And those of us who are in the real estate for some time, there is always a market cycle. So that market cycle can fluctuate the property value and the investment. And having this Century Oak apartment, the location, just being in the heart of the metropolitan area of Twin City, does place it in a very high demand area for affordable housing. So that significantly reduces our market risk. And also it provides a very stable and resilient investment environment for our investors.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And to talk about the investment opportunity, I'd like to ask Summer to share some of this.
Yeah, thank you, Omar. I'll be briefly touching upon the capital raise and shares. So we are raising $6 million to fund these acquisitions and the renovations of the property, which is basically the CapEx. So we have made very simple and easy to remember share classes, share class A and share class B. So for the share class A, which offers a 7% preferred return, providing investors with a stable and a predictable income stream. Now, in terms of the class B shares, it provides 8% preferred return, catering to investors seeking high return. Now, in terms of the investment details, I would like to touch upon a little bit, which here you can see the minimum Class A investment is $50,000, making it very accessible to a broad range of investors. So for the Class B shares, it requires minimum of the $250,000, targeting more substantial investors with the greater capital investment and with the greater return. So investors can expect the monthly distributions starting after the property, which is stabilizations. So what does that mean is that when the property occupancy rate goes up to 92% and expenses below 55% for 3 consecutive months. And we are very optimistic that the investors can anticipate their return between July and September 2025. So briefly, in terms of the return of equity, we have waterfall structures where the limited partner basically get the return of the preferred return before general partner gets any return. So what does that mean is that just to talk a little bit about the waterfall structures where we refer to the way the profit are distributed among the investors and the stakeholder, which is general partner. So how it works is that first, the return of the capital to our investors, right, which is initial contribution first, and then it come to the referral preferred return. So which means that investor receive a set of a percentage of return on their investment before profits are shared to general partners. So next comes to the profit split, which basically means that once the preferred return is met, the additional profits are split between the investors and general partners, which means that you can see here 80-20 split. So 80% of the profit shares will be distributed among our investors, and 20% is among our general partners. Now, we have equity multiple of 1.9 to 2.1x, which we are very confident that we will achieve that with the instant equity of 5.4 million at closing, and with the executions of our robust business plan that we will be implementing. So we expect that a 2x multiple of your investment. So there is 8 to 9% cash and cash return annualized. So investors can expect a 6.2% cash and cash return in the first year of their investment, which is, we believe, is very lucrative and a very high return. So 8 to 9% cash and cash return as the investment proceeds. Now, in terms of the potential return that you are investing in our deal, which is basically the next slide. So we expect we expect that if you invest $100,000, the total capital gain within the whole period is $103,000. So when you look into this breakdown here, you can see that there is $45,508, which is basically member cash flow, is cash and cash return, and $57,000 is from the net profits, profit at sale within the whole period of time. So if you add that to your principal, it makes to $203,000, which is basically 2x multiple. Likewise, if you look into the $250,000 investment, the total come up to be $558,000, which is again more than 2x multiple. So we are achieving this because our average annualized return is more than 20%, and IRR is more than 17%, and cash and cash return is more than 9%. So looking into these tabulations, it is obviously, you can tell that you can double your money in 3 to 5 years. So I believe who wouldn't like that, right? So it's a very lucrative deal. So that is what I would like to mention here. Thanks, Omar.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Samar. And now actually our waterfall structure is a little bit more complex than we have modeled here. And we have these IRR tranches that are based on the Class A distributions. So the Class B, or the people that invest at 250 or higher, will actually be slightly higher than this, but we weren't able to model it with this calculator. So just wanted to let you know about that. Next, we're going to talk about the investment process. And we researched several investment portals, and we chose what we felt was the best performing portal available. This is software that's called InvestNex. And our partner, Brian Forte, has become our InvestNex ninja. Brian, could you please share with us the investment process for everybody here?
Hi, guys. Glad you're with us. And I'm sure after hearing about this property, the only thing on your minds now is how do I get in on this deal? And InvestNex is really the pathway for you to be able to do that. So it's this third-party software that we've partnered with, and they handle multiple deals all over the country with huge investment groups, just like ours. And it's a pretty easy process. We'll share with you the link at the very end of this. You can log right in, create your account, and then at the top you will see the offering that you recognize the picture, and it'll say Century Oaks. You click on that, and then you'll be able to review a little bit of information about the property. And then up on the right, you'll be able to select your investment. It'll walk you through the entire process. It's very user-friendly, and we'll tell you how, and you'll be able to pick the investment amount. You'll be able to sign the documents and look at the private placement memorandum, which will give you all the details about the property, all the legalese that you will need to know, to see all the intricate details that we've gone over most of them, but there are always additional pieces that you can reference within that document as well. Go move on to the next slide. Once you click into there and create your account, then you'll have that opportunity to select which class you want to invest in, whether you're going to be in the Class A or Class B, and then what your commitment amount is going to be. Initially, you'll put in the amount that you want, and then at the very end, it will give you the instructions on how to wire that amount, and that can only be accomplished once you have signed all the documents and kind of worked your way through that entire pathway. And we'll be there with you. We'll be able to contact you and kind of help guide you through if you have any questions or issues with it. Feel free to reach out to one of us, and we will guide you through that process. Next, we are moving fairly quickly here. So right now we're at the end of January. We're planning on closing the beginning part of March. So we need to make sure we have all the funds in place by the end of February. So whatever your plans are to move your investment funds or to get them out of your IRAs or however you plan on helping moving your money into here, you want to start working on it as quickly as possible, and then work with us to get your plan and get your seat locked in. As Amr mentioned, we definitely plan on being oversubscribed on this, and there's a lot of excitement about the deal.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tim, or Brian. That was fantastic. And I'm sure we'll be reaching out to you if anyone has questions, because you've developed expertise in that area, which we really appreciate. Want to have our partner, Dr. Subasit Acharjee, is going to be talking about using retirement accounts for investing, and he has always has some amazing wisdom to share with everybody. So, Subasit.
Thank you, Omar. As an investor, I want to talk about two things. The first is the more important thing. As an investor, whenever somebody tells you they're going to double your money in 3 to 5 years, and the first thing that we all think about is how risky is the investment and how profitable is the investment. So I just want to address that. How do you know this investment is profitable and not going to be risky? Because anybody can tell you that they're going to double their money. What fundamental truth is it based on? What is the process that goes into it? Well, one of the very well-known concept is this 1% rule. Whenever you invest in any real estate project with us or any other syndicator or any other investment, you must ask this 1% rule. I'll give you an example. Last year, we closed the 77 unit that we closed in Minneapolis area. We bought each unit for $110,000. They were at that time renting for average of $1,050 a month. As soon as we got those rent up to $1,150, that means $110,000 was the unit price. We rented it for more than $1,100. That is the 1% rule. As soon as we did that, we were making profits to the range of the number that we are telling you here, double your money in 5 years. We were making that profit. So how does that apply to this deal? Why is this a less risky deal and a very profitable deal? Because I want you to go home with this concept that you should ask before you wire money to any real estate investment. So here we are buying each unit for $70,000, $69,000. Currently, they're renting for not $700, but $1,050. Market rent is $1,200. So we are the cash flow that's going to come in. So the rent that's going to come in is 50% more than what you would expect, right? So whenever any investment crosses that 1% mark, then what we do is we pay the mortgage, we pay the management, we pay the repair, and pay for the vacancy. So that 1% rule always makes it a very profitable deal. So that's why we went with a lot of conservative estimates on this. What do you mean by conservative estimate? We said that even if we rent 90%, we are going to make a profit. But the fact is that in Minneapolis area for this class of property, they rent at 97%. Right? So like that, we have made a lot of leeway so that we can at least try to deliver you that 2 times multiplier that we're talking about in 3 to 5 years. So I'll just end with the second point about using the retirement. Not all of us have $100,000 or $250,000 sitting around in bank. So one of the ways what we can do is use your 401k retirement account for something called self-directed IRA. And we have partnered with a third-party vendor who will walk you through the process, who doesn't have any conflict of interest with us, so that you can use that retirement fund so that instead of getting 8 to 10% return that you're currently getting, you can get at least 20% return, as we talked about. And then with that profit in 3 to 5 years, you can either get it back to retirement fund, or you can cash out from there. So that will be my advice to you. Just remember that 1% rule, especially when I was beginning a few years ago. I stuck to that rule, and that really helped me distinguish what is a good investment versus what's a risk investment. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Subhasit. I love how you brought the essence of it right in just one slide. So next, I'm going to share with everybody these QR codes, and feel free to scan these with your phone. Each of these QR codes links to our investor portal at InvestNext. And if you happen to be affiliated with one of the groups, you can scan the code for that group. That just allows us to better track where the investors are coming from. So Heather and I and Subhasit are working under the Oculus one on the left, Samar and Nita with the Everest in the center, Norman and Tim and Brian with JKL Capital. It all goes actually to the same portal though, and there's really no difference. I would like to tell you now that Brian has made our portal live just in the past hour, and it's ready for investing. If you've already been to the portal and made a soft commitment does not guarantee necessarily a spot in the deal. And you actually need to have the funds wired to be guaranteed. Before wiring the funds, we do want you have to be what's called an accredited investor. And these are rules that the SEC has set up to ensure that only individuals with sufficient financial means and understanding of these complex investment vehicles can participate in these non-publicly traded offerings. One of the easiest ways to get an accreditation, to show that you're accredited, is to have your CPA or your accountant just write a letter saying that they're verifying that you're an accredited investor. That's the easiest way. We also will have third-party verification system, and that's within our InvestNext portal. You could use that as well if you don't have a CPA that can write you a letter. So again, this project is likely to be oversold, and we encourage you to please submit your commitments right away. With that, I want to thank everyone for coming.